Good afternoon, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time to meet with me today. I'm looking forward to sharing what we came up with after meeting for a few discovery sessions and learning more about your brand. It's really exciting what you have in store for your community with this new restaurant, the Source Kitchen. I'm looking forward to sharing what we came up with, the visual representation of who you are as a brand and how you're hoping to enrich your community with this new restaurant of yours. So the things that we distilled from the discovery sessions with you, learning more about who you are and your brand and what you want to stand for and represent, were sustainable, holistic, and clean. And I'm going to share with you a stylescape today for the Creative Sage. So here you have one of the client personas we covered on the Creative Sage. Her name is Laura. She is out in her community. She's visiting a local organic farm and picking up some produce that she's going to use for a meal with her family later that night. She's very connected with her community and is very passionate about holistic and sustainable lifestyle. And that's really what you mentioned, that you're really trying to hone in with this restaurant, and that's going to be what is going to help you stand out in your community. So we'll dive in to see this a little bit closer here, if I can. Oh, there we go. Great. So on the far left side here, we have an example of what some signage might look like. For right out front, we have this wonderful older building with some beautiful ivy greenery on the side to play into the natural environment. And in the color palette, we're exploring some what I imagined would be like a midnight sky blue. We're really trying to create a peaceful environment. And then we have this very earthy red, clay brown, and a very neutral and calming ivory and gray color as well. We wanted to create an example for you to see of what like a very clean mark might look like, with a little icon that we can incorporate here into the signage. And we selected for your primary typeface in this example, it's this very rough hewn type that was used to develop and be etched into stone and to wood. So a very lasting and legacy typeset. We'll take a look at the next section here. We're looking at some beautiful textures and the type of food that you're going to be serving. This is the farm to table restaurant you mentioned. Locally sourced food in season that's really going to be inspiring and delicious for each season. It's going to be fresh and clean sourced organic farms. We have, and I loved this, why I picked this image of the eggs on this texture is that we could envision this being a texture that could be used in your restaurant for some seating possibly. And the colors of, if you remember from the previous slide, of these eggs are inspired by, your colors are really connected to the food that is in your restaurant. Down below here, we have an example of what a menu might look like. We incorporated the secondary typeset in here for this with some badge work that can really help stand out. We could possibly use the date or the season that particular menu is for. That could be cool. And then we have an example of the interior of your what your space could look like. There's a lot of natural light. We're not going to be having the lights on during the day to let all that natural light in and bring in that greenery. We have those natural wood chairs and tables, an example of that, with an example of just some subtle signage there on the wall for you to see what an icon might look like at a utensils and like to get your napkins and things like that for people. And then we have an example of imagining what your dinner plates might look like, styled and echoing kind of that icon that you can see throughout. Up on the top here, we have an example of what your website layout might look like. This very clean and open and welcoming imagery with subtle typeset and icons. And down below, we have your cooks are very passionate and connected to their food and the farmers. And you see this example of this chef very connected to what he's doing and passionate. You see the icon on his uniform there can be etched in there. Could look really great. And then we have the side entrance that is peering into the restaurant from the back with the icon that we can get engraved or foiled onto the top. It could be a really nice subtle touch. And then we have a business card example on the very top to give you an idea of what that might look like. Very clean and minimal aesthetic. So we'll take a look to zoom back out here, and I'd just love to hear your thoughts and things that stuck out to you, things that you liked, things that you didn't like as much. I'd love to hear your feedback.
Great job. Great job. All right. So, William, I think you shot out a gate really strong last time we saw your work being presented, and I think you made some adjustments here. I can't remember exactly what you made. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about the design of the layout. I've noticed a pattern here. For some reason, the guys seem to be talking a lot more than they should be, right? Because you can feel like at some point you're just stretching it out too much. Yep. It is just stretching it out. Keep it nice, compact. Here's if you're going to err on the side of leaving them wanting more versus having too much.
Okay.
So I can ask questions. I can dive in. I don't know if it's nerves again. It's like the first two women that went boom, boom, straight fire. I'm going to have a conversation. It's going to be really nice. Let's just pull back, okay? And
sure.
Let's get into it. Okay, so first, the design of the stylescape is very sophisticated. It's very consistent, really beautifully designed. I, too, would also hire you to do the stylescape for me. I'm not saying that that's anything worthwhile. That's not what you really want me to do, right? But it's really nice. It meets the standard which I'm looking for. There's a couple like little nitpicky things here. The source sign on the far left there, there's a little space above it and below it. It's so uncomfortable for me. I don't know, can we scale it down a little bit so we just have a little bit more room for it to breathe? And everybody's like, I'm in love with the sun-kissed woman in the jacket and the scarf and her beanie. She's walking in someplace, presumably on the farm or something. It just feels really right. I think you're very good at curating and assembling images together that really fit. The color palette's presented very creatively as almost watercolor swatches and abstract. I forget the artist, Paul Klee. Is it Paul Klee? His art. It's pretty amazing. Now, here's the one critique that I have is with the Source Kitchen logo and the lockup, there's a term that I didn't hear before until we met Sagi Haviv, and he's like, it's a slap-on logo. And a slap-on logo is a logo that you just slap on things. So you slap it on the white, you slap it on the sign, you slap it on the wall, on the glass. I would encourage you to try not to do the slap-on logo because it doesn't really take me into bold new territory. I want you to think about ways to reinterpret the logo. For example, the S, circle lockup. Maybe that could be a wire sculpture. And it doesn't have to be exactly that logo. But if you found a sculpture, like, you see this metal wire sculpture that's done by this artist that lives out in the woods or something, we're thinking that you could do that with your logo. Or you want to like stretch me a little bit, and you stretch too. Mm-hmm. And then I think about applications, right? Like if I'm a restaurant owner and I hired you to design my website, what other applications am I not thinking about that you could be doing? How about to-go boxes? How about uniforms, but not just a little emblem on an apron? What about napkins or anything else that you can think of that a restaurant needs. Topography on the walls, just make me stretch more. Like, I want that. I want to hire William to do all these things for me. And so we have examples, a lot of really great examples, excuse me, by the way, of photography style where it's desaturated. There's a certain kind of lensing and a vibe that I'm getting from all your photos. After I've seen 2 or 3, I got enough. Now I want to see design. I want to see more design. Embrace it. You could easily take out 1 of the 2 photos from above the chef who's preparing, or the sous chef, or whoever that is. Put some design up there. Give me more. Make it dimensional. Make it feel real. When you have too many things that are parallel to the picture plane, things get really flat. Have something tilted in, tumbling in space, something off at an angle. So that ivy wall that you have with the green, and then there's a sign, but the sign is perfectly flat again. So let's look for some mocks that really have some edge or materials or dimension or depth, or is lit or something. Maybe you came across some really cool jars, mason jars, and you're like, what if we served our beverages in the mason jars? Or what if we did XYZ? This is what the bags look like. This is what the to-go containers look like. Everything that you can think of that a restaurant needs, I want you to design. Not design, but curate. That way, they go into it for a $20,000 engagement and they walk away with a $60,000 engagement because they want it all. Like, how do we do this? Right? I went to, I forget what restaurant or cafe or bakery it was, really super hot one, and they have coasters that are printed where you set your drink on, and each one has a funny little message. And that might be an opportunity for you to do some messaging or branding there, where you say, this is where we source the meat from. It's Farmer Abe. And this is who we bought the root vegetables from. And there's a story, and you're trying to tell that story, and you capture the imagination. Like, we never even thought about telling that part of our story. And that's what you want to do. Okay? Now, awesome. You're in the pro group as well, so I'm going to say the same thing. You're pretty consistent. I need you to bring 30% more energy.
Okay.
Like, you go pretty even across.
I could probably bring 50%. Yeah.
Well, I'll take 30 for now, Like, see, now that you're done presenting, you're smiling and you're having a good time. So, that's infectious. That's what you want. You want people to feel good. So the trick sometimes is just talking a little faster and talking a little bit slower sometimes. And that variance is what gets people to wake up and pay attention. Okay. Awesome job, guys. Awesome job, William. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the next person.